For Moses writes in verse 5, for Moses writes that the law's way of making a person right with God requires obedience to all of its commands. But faith's way of getting right with God says, don't say in your heart who will go up to heaven to bring Christ down to earth. Don't say who will go down to the place of the dead to bring Christ back to life again. In fact, it says the message is very close at hand. It is on your lips and in your heart. And that message is the very message about faith that we preach. If you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. Amen. That right there is the gospel. If you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. Nowhere does it say, if you fulfill all of these duties and fulfill all of these things and do all of this stuff, I firmly believe that you will fulfill those things if you get into this right relationship with Jesus Christ. Yeah. I love that scripture, and I love the visual of looking through a glass darkly. We look at ourselves and we go, oh man, I'm just so messed up. I'm so broken. I don't measure up. I don't do anything. And I love it. I always compare it to that commercial they put on TV about the drunk driving, where they put all the glasses in front of it and it's all distorted and you can't see. And that's the way it is. And the enemy would love to put more glasses in front of us so it's more and more distorted. They go, oh, look, you're a total mess, George. You're broken. You're this. You're dysfunctional. Blah, blah, blah. God could never love you. God could never use you. You amount to nothing. You're only good to be my servant, the devil says, right? And to live life for me. And that's just a lie. That's not at all the case. The case is that God determined that his son was enough. That's right. If you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, that doesn't mean that you've got to go around and stand on the street corner on a soapbox and do the, you're all going to hell. Jesus is the only way. What he's talking about, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, number one, if you believe in your heart, you'll confess it. If you have doubts about it, you're not going to confess it because you're going to have a problem there. You're going to get stuck on that. It'll be a tripping point for you. And so we really need to believe in our hearts that God raised him from the dead, because then what happens is if we believe in our hearts that God raised him from the dead, then that means he is the Son of God. He's seated at the right hand in intercession for us, and his blood has cleansed me from all unrighteousness. If we don't believe that, then the other part doesn't work. Why would I confess something if I don't believe it? Like, I don't know about you, but if I go out to a restaurant and it's really good food, the adage is, as a chef, the adage is, if people love it, they'll tell one person. If they hate it, they'll tell 10. As a Christian, it should be the reverse of that. If you really believe that Jesus is the only way, the truth, and the life, then we should be telling 10 people, telling 10 people, telling 10 people, telling 10 people, and constantly doing that. Like, I don't know about you, but if I found something that could save me gas mileage, I'm gonna put it in my car, I'm gonna use it, and I'm gonna tell everybody, look, you can save a ton of money if you'll just do this. Put this part on it, or put this stuff in your gas tank, or whatever it might be. I've seen it, where we sit there, we'll go back and forth, and we'll say, oh, you gotta get this Bytron, blah, blah, blah. We'll put it in there, and save wear and tear on your car. You get better gas mileage, etc., and we do it. And what we need to do is recognize that as we're doing that, we need to be doing it for Jesus. If we confess with our mouth that Jesus is Lord. It was interesting because somebody was saying the other day that they were challenged by something at their workplace. And the challenge came was, basically, it was a conflict. They didn't want to do it because that's not the way they roll. That's not what they believed. And so they had to make a stand. That's confessing with your mouth that Jesus is Lord. Amen. Saying, no, you know what, I'm not going to do that because I don't believe in that, or my Bible doesn't allow me to do that. It's the same thing whether you want to eat or don't eat, vegetarian or meat and that kind of stuff. You have to have a conviction that this is right for you. And it's the same thing with Jesus. If you've got that conviction, then I will confess that Jesus is my Lord. I'm sorry, I just don't roll like that. I I love it when people constantly are surprised when we as Christians do something Christian. Like we're honest about money. I don't know how many times I've said, well, you charged me, you didn't charge. Like the other day I was at the bargain store and I was buying some cards. And they had gone through and I said, I've got 6 of those and 3 of those and 2 of those. And I watched her ringing it in. And she missed one. And it was like $1.25. But I got to the end and I said, could you count that up? Because I think she missed one. If she missed one, wow. Most people wouldn't have done that. But see, my conviction, my Jesus is my Lord. I've got to stand on the convictions and the values and the morals and the things that He's put into me. And if I do that, that's confessing. I'm confessing with my mouth by saying, you know what, I can't partner with that. I can't come into agreement with that. When it comes to, gratuities, this is one that Karen has used in her messages before, where she was paying tax on her gratuity. She was accounting for that in her taxation at the end of the year. And somebody was like, she got her tips or something from somebody, and a waitress